Oh my god, this was the best freaking $8 I've ever spent in my life. Hands down. Hey guys, what's up? It's the King of Games 98. And wow, I am just absolutely dumbfounded. I'm spellbound. Just wow. Okay, so I know I don't really do book reviews a lot. I've only done this one other time. I don't really know if you would consider it a book review because it was a Japanese manga, but screw it. So this is going to be another book review. A few minutes ago, I just finished reading the book Star Wars Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston. And oh my god, I loved it so freaking much, like words just can't even describe it. Okay, so if you've never read the book Star Wars Ahsoka and are curious to what it's about, or have heard about the book and still never read it and are curious about it, the book starts off at the end of Star Wars The Clone Wars and really picks up after the Clone Wars TV series and kind of goes into, I guess, Star Wars Rebels. So the book starts off with Ahsoka Tano being on like this outer rim planet called the Beskha, and she lives there, has her own house, and works for the smuggling company the smuggling family-owned company by the name of Farties. And they basically smuggle and import illegal stuff and whatnot, and you know, they go about their business. But they actually work for the Empire. Well, a few days later, it is going to be Empire Day on the Beskha, celebrating the anniversary of when the Empire was first created. And when Ahsoka found that out, she was like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here and leave and get as far away as physically possible. Because, you know, I'm guessing Darth Vader was going to be there, a load of stormtroopers, and or I guess Lord Sidious too, probably. So she stole one of the Farties' ships, left the Beskha, and ended up finding this not too far away moon that she would soon find out is called Rada. She had never heard of it and had never been there before, and so she just landed there, talked to some of the locals, got, I guess, like a familiarization of the moon, and she decided to buy a house and stay there. Well, Ahsoka ended up finding out on Rada, it was mainly like farmers and other like people just trying to live out their life, you know, on a regular, you know, planet, well, moon. And yeah, Ahsoka ended up living on Rada for a good amount of time, long enough to have made a lot of new friends, and you know, her to really get known on the moon. Anyway, long story short, after a good amount of time of her being on Rada, one day an Imperial Star Destroyer comes to Rada, and Imperial stormtroopers and whatnot come to Rada and set up base on Rada. And so then Ahsoka must make up her mind about whether or not she wants to stay on Rada and fight, or leave and keep fleeing the Empire. And that's all I'm going to tell you guys about Star Wars Ahsoka without really going into too much detail and or spoiling anything. Okay, so I am a huge Star Wars fan first and foremost. If you know, for whoever doesn't know me very well, or if you do know me very well, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I absolutely loved Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the TV show series, and I really feel like if you were a fan of Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV show series, you really need to read this book. And if you are a fan of the Star Wars Rebels TV show series, you still need to read this book. This book bridges the gap between the Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV show series and the Star Wars Rebels TV show series. Like, I literally couldn't put it any more simpler. This book really bridges the gap. Now, for those of you who may or may not know me very well, I am a huge fan of the Star Wars The Clone Wars TV show series. I love it so much. I still love it to this day. After it ended, I was pretty upset and distraught, really. And then when the Lucasfilm and Disney merger came about, and then Disney announced, hey, we're going to be having our own Star Wars TV show series on our Disney Channel. You should totally check it out. And then they announced Star Wars Rebels was going to be coming to the Disney Channel. I kind of just sat there like, okay. And I didn't really know what to think of the series. If I should give it a chance and watch it, if I should just forget about it. Well, my decision ended up being made further in the Star Wars Rebels series when they started to bring characters back that were first introduced in the Star Wars The Clone Wars TV show series. What the fuck, Disney? And when that happened, I basically was like, okay, since they couldn't get the rights to continue Star Wars The Clone Wars, they're just going to bring back characters from that series in their new series, hoping to get some of the Star Wars The Clone Wars fan base on Star Wars Rebels now. Well, when Disney decided to do that, that left a really bad taste in my mouth, so to speak, and I was basically like, fuck Star Wars Rebels, I am not watching this at all. And so that's basically how I have been up until this point. I'm still saying, fuck Star Wars Rebels. And now, as of, I want to say February 19th, Disney and Lucasfilm have announced Star Wars Rebels is coming to its final season. And the whole series only ran 4 seasons. 4 seasons! That's pathetic. At least Star Wars The Clone Wars beat it out with 5.5 seasons. Or if you want to call it 6, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, after reading this book, I'm kind of curious about Star Wars Rebels, and am kind of tempted to watch it. But I still don't know if I can bring myself to watch it, because it's just trying too much to be what Star Wars The Clone Wars was, and it's just not going to happen. Okay, so enough of me rambling on about Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, but, yeah. So, my thoughts and or complaints about this book, Star Wars Ahsoka. Well, a couple of my thoughts. First off, the author, E.K. Johnston, must have really, really, really liked Star Wars The Clone Wars as much as I did, and really must have liked Ahsoka Tano to write a whole freaking book dedicated to mostly about her story after that series ended and bridging the new series, Star Wars Rebels. So, that's the first thought. And second thought, she must have really, really, really dedicated herself to get to know the character of Ahsoka Tano very well, to have, again, written a whole book about her and her story after the Clone Wars and going into Rebels. I honestly loved every freaking chapter of this book. There was definitely not a single bad thing I could say I didn't like or had a problem with this book while I was reading it. I absolutely loved this book and would highly recommend it to anyone who is a fan of Star Wars The Clone Wars TV show series or Star Wars Rebels. Either or. You know what? I don't care. You know what? It was just a really good... This was probably one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read that took place during the Clone Wars era. I wouldn't say it was the best Star Wars book I've ever read, But I would go to the lengths to say it was the best Star Wars. It was the best Star Wars, the Clone Wars era book I have ever read. I just, honest to God, can't say a bad thing about this book. I love the freaking cover art so much of how they portrayed Ahsoka, especially with her two new white dual lightsabers. And yeah. So, as if you guys couldn't tell already, my final rate for the book Star Wars Ahsoka is going to be a perfect 10 out of 10. And God bless E.K. Johnston for freaking writing this book, because I seriously just, I can't say enough good about it. I really love it that much. Alright guys, so thank you very much for watching. Take care, hope you have a good day, and don't forget, may the Force be with you.